I am Erin Yarbrough. I'm going to talk to you guys today about the One University Digital Initiative at the University of Oklahoma. And before I get started about that, hold on just one second. I need to change something on my slides. There we go. I'm excited to share about this digital initiative with you guys, and I wanted to also share with you the partners that make up this digital initiative, because it's definitely not just me. All of these different departments, vice presidents, deans, provost, they're all a part of this One University Digital Initiative, and honestly, we wouldn't be able to do it without that group being such a big part of this. So I wanted to share that with you. Like I said, I'm Erin Yarbrough. I'm the Associate Vice President for Web Communications, Marketing, and New Media. That's a long title, so we just say WebCom for short. Some people ask, why is Web Communications a part of a digital initiative on campus? Well, it's because it's a whole slew of many different departments and vice presidents, like I mentioned. And our executive vice president at the university, Nick Hathaway, has kind of been spearheading this project. And we get a chance to work, I get a chance to work for him. And so we get a chance to work on a lot of these different projects. So our goal in web communications is to market the university kind of to the world on the web. And I'm a proud alumna of the University of Oklahoma. So just to show you that we're not all tumbleweeds and horses, and tornadoes, I'm going to show you a short video about OU that most of you just saw half of it already, so that's fine. Okay, now that you guys are all OU fans, right? Oh, I see a Texas guy in the back. Okay, well, I have to share this with you because I do feel like the University of Oklahoma is the best university in the world. I'm sorry. I think Robert Kelly here on the front row would agree with me. And so I have to say, when I say boomer, does anybody know what you guys say? Okay, so we're going to practice this. Boomer. All right, you guys did good. All right, so that's the University of Oklahoma. I wanted to kind of just share with you who we are. And then I also want to show you one other quick video, which is we made this about a year ago, and it's kind of the first introduction that we gave to people on campus and off campus, really, about the digital initiative and kind of what we're going to talk about today.
This is more than a project, more than a headline. These are more than your typical faculty, and these are definitely more than your typical students. This is the University of Oklahoma, and we are leading the way for a new future in higher education through the One University Digital Initiative. It's about saving students money, enhancing the learning experience, opening educational content to the world, and building the OU community. One University is enhancing the OU experience through new innovative technologies and digital tools. Students can now save over $400 a year on textbooks by using free or inexpensive digital options. New innovative free textbooks and faculty-created iBooks are transforming the costs of education. However, it's more than just saving money. These books offer a digital world brought to life with videos, 3D models, and much more. Engaging content should be shared. Through iTunes U, OU educational content is seen by over 500,000 people a year in over 140 countries. From freedom to weather, OU faculty are educating the world. And through the One University store, the future is within reach, with the most bleeding-edge technology in one place to dream, design, and create. This is a store like no other. Augmented reality, 3D printing, and Google Liquid Galaxy put the tools of the future in the hands of our extraordinary students. The OU community reaches far beyond the arches, and through One University, new, stronger connections are being made. Change, impact, and kickstart new innovations within OU through the Imagine OU feature in the new mobile app. Combining love for education with leading-edge technology, OU is excited to share the One University experience. The University of Oklahoma, shaping the future of education.
So many of the projects that we're going to talk about today, probably you guys have some of these going on your campus. Probably heard of a lot of these, but some of these are also new. And really, I think the unique thing that we're doing within the One University Digital Initiative is that we're packaging all of this up with one mission, one direction, kind of moving forward for the university as a whole. And all of our projects that are within this program kind of meet at least one of kind of four different goals. Overall, kind of our goal is to enhance the student experience. That was the name of the presentation. And we'll get to kind of the most important goal last, but that's kind of the overarching direction, is to enhance the student experience through technology. The first thing that we want to do is build community. The Sooner family is something that we pride ourselves on. And how do we use technology so that students aren't sitting in their dorm rooms, by themselves tweeting? And how do we get them out in the community and use technology to help them build that community and build that Sooner family that we're so proud of? Next is to enhance learning opportunities, both inside and outside of the classroom. This digital initiative is not just for learning, but it's definitely a big part of it. So how do we make sure that we're using technology so that we're not just handing out devices to people, but actually changing the way that students are learning and changing the way that they're going out into the world after they graduate? Next is opening up educational content. We talk about MOOCs a lot. That's nothing new, but how do we open it up in different ways? And what are we doing to kind of take that next step after we open it up? And then finally, this is the most important aspect of this, which is saving students money. Every project that we take on within One University meets at least one of these goals. Most of them meet multiple goals. Not all of them save students money, but that's definitely something that we focus on a lot of our different projects. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk to you guys about a slew of different projects that we have going on. There could be a presentation on any one of these projects for 30 minutes, so I'm not going to go too in-depth on these, but please feel free to find me afterwards, and we can chat about some of these if you're interested. And also, please feel free to raise your hands during the presentation and ask questions. Don't feel like you have to wait until the end to ask things. So let's kick this off with building community, and let's talk about what really one of the first projects that we did within One University was build an iPad app for the university. That was great. It was interesting. It was kind of a fun foray for us into iPad app development. We'd had some iPhone apps, and things like that, but they were really, quite honestly, already a couple of years old at that point. So really what we have been thinking about over the last really 6 months is, okay, let's take this to the next level. How do we create a community of students, of thinking about this, what is the future of kind of our apps and things like that. And so one of the things that we started doing is thinking about how do we create a way for our incoming prospective students to become an OU student much easier. How do we create the University of Oklahoma? How do we make that experience an app-like process? You know, we're going to talk about this more in depth in a second, but you all know that becoming a student isn't always that easy, right? It's sometimes really scary that you have to go off to this system to do this and this system to do this. And so what we're trying to do through this new app that I'm going to talk about is really create a community where students can make that transition much easier. So you guys probably have 1,000 different systems on your campus, just like we do. We also have a student system and a student portal and things like that, and this is not replacing our student portal. That's still very important to us, where our students do business with the university. But how do we get them from the admission process? How do we get them from the point where a student has been accepted to the University of Oklahoma, where recruitment is really heavy, and move them into the dorms? Excuse me, residence halls, I'm not allowed to say dorms. How do we take them from the point where we said, yes, you're a Sooner, to actually getting to campus? That's part of our recruitment process still, but it's still something that 4,000 students go through each year, and not all of them can be handheld through that entire process. So we realized that through these digital opportunities, we had a way, though, to make the difficulty of these systems much easier for our students. They don't need to see that there are 1,000 different systems on the back end. They don't need to fill out a form with their name and address 10,000 times before they get to campus. They don't need to fill out a form with their shirt size, 20 different times. We asked them probably 20 times what their shirt size is. So let's create a student profile. So that's what we're starting to do. And we'll be launching it this fall for the incoming class of 2016. That's blank. I don't know why. There we go. So this will be an opportunity. It's a timeline for incoming students. Looks just like a timeline you would get on a piece of paper. For parents, they're just going to be able to see that and manually check off that their student has done something. But for students who are logged into this, there will be single sign-in to all of these different systems, to our housing application, through our recruitment CRM. All of these different data points, they might have to go out and actually sign up through in our first phase, but eventually we'd like to get to the point where it's all kind of a new front-end system. But they'll be kind of kicked back into this timeline. It'll automatically check off that they've completed something, and then they'll be able to share it with their friends. They'll be able to share it with their parents. It's much easier to get through that process. Like I said, this isn't taking over the portal, but what we're doing is we're creating a student profile so that we can take everything in our CRM, everything that's through our recruitment department, everything in our housing application, all of these things, trying to make it much easier, much more user-friendly to become a student. Even things like our scholarship process. Right now, you have to go out and find what scholarships you want, right? The incoming freshmen don't necessarily have to. It's a little bit easier for them. But once you get into, freshman, sophomore, junior level, you have to actually go out and find departmental scholarships. Through this program, also through the next phase, we're going to, once we kind of get this first phase going, we're going to look at the scholarship process. How do we make it much easier for students to have scholarships find them, instead of them having to go out and find scholarships? So making that process, making what students actually probably already expect, and making that a part of the incoming experience. We are going to start with this incoming freshman app. It's going to be called OU Bound, and then expand that through the freshman experience, through the sophomore, junior, senior, through the graduation and alumni experience. We have to start somewhere. We can't start everywhere, though we would love to. And so we're going to start with that incoming class and make it much easier for them to be a Sooner. So that's one way we're building community, really making it much easier for them to be a part of the community. That's just one side of it. The other side of the house, another opportunity that we've created, is about a year ago, we opened up a store called the One University Store. Did anybody see David Goodspeed's presentation yesterday? Okay, good. He and I we kind of call each other our partners in crime. So David runs our One University store, and what he'll tell you is that we don't care if we sell anything. We don't. We're not there to sell, though we do, so it keeps the store busy and active. Really what we're there to do is inspire students to explore technology, right? So we have engineering students and business students who might see things like 3D printing or robotics in their classrooms, but what about our art students? And what about our music students and our journalism students? What about the students who might be app developers in their spare time, but they're studying ballet, while they're at OU? Our students are well-rounded, and even if maybe they haven't experienced this technology before, let's use this store as a playground. So that's kind of what we call it. We call it part store, part playground. And what we try to do is really inspire our students and our faculty to see new technology, to explore and figure out, okay, maybe I could use this for a project that I'm studying in school, or maybe this is something that I want to be an entrepreneur and create something on the side with. So like I said, it's part store, part playground. It's a really fun environment. Like I said, we don't focus on the selling, but I'm going to let Dakota tell you a little bit more about it.
The One University store is a very special place on campus. It's a store, but there's much more than just things to buy. It's a playground where you can enter and be inspired. I mean, as a student, we all hear about special technologies on campus we don't have access to, but we hope to change that. You come to the Union, where students always are, and the One University store has brought all of this technologies to us to explore and dream up a new project or even business idea. It's crazy. I can walk in here and play with Elite Motion. It's amazing. We even have 3D printers. I never expected to see one working in real life. With Google Liquid Galaxy, I can fly from under the sea to space and even the moon and Mars. There's a huge interactive TV that tells the One University story, and we show off other OU educational content available to the world through iTunes U and iBooks. With all this innovation and technology at the One University store, what will campus be inspired to create?
So Dakota is an engineering student, and he does such a good job of kind of telling the story of the store to other people and to other students. And I think what's so unique about the store is it's in our Union. It's actually where our old bookstore used to be. So it's kind of taken the idea of the bookstore and really transitioned it. One of the really fun areas of this store is it's really modern, kind of looks like an Apple store, but then in the back there's a bookshelf, and it's this kind of regular old bookshelf. And then on there we have what looks like books, but actually they're iPad covers printed with a book cover on top of it. And then when you open it up, there's an iPad inside, and it shows all of the iBooks that have been created on campus. So it's a really neat opportunity too for us to showcase faculty-created iBooks, student-created iBooks, all kinds of different things that we use on campus. So the next thing that I wanted to share with you is enhancing learning opportunities. So how many of you have iPad programs on campus, either in small pockets or even your entire campus? So a good amount of you. This isn't something new, right, that we're distributing iPads on campus, but I think that what makes these successful and what probably makes them successful in your areas as well is not just distributing an iPad for iPad's sake, right? So we started with the College of Education, and the reason that we started there is there are so many K-12 schools that have iPads in the classroom, and our teachers don't know how to teach with them. So they're going into these districts, they're getting all of this technology, and they're like, I don't know what to do with this. So we started with the College of Education so that our students are not only learning with this technology, but they're learning to teach. And so they're coming out of the University of Oklahoma stronger teachers than many other areas, because they've not only learned themselves, but they've created lesson plans. They've done things with this technology. We're getting ready to launch several new programs, one in the College of Arts and Sciences through our sociology program. It's a freshman level class, and we're distributing 400 iPads through that class so that they can get an intro whenever they're coming to the University of Oklahoma. One of their first classes that they're taking is going to use this technology in the classroom. We have one in journalism, or actually we have several in journalism. The entire College of Law is getting ready to distribute them to their students, and then we have several others on campus. But what's unique about, not unique, but what makes these successful, like I said, is not just distributing the iPads, but it's the faculty members behind these programs. So it's the faculty members who are finding new ways to use these in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And is everybody familiar with the SAMR model? So substitution all the way to redefinition, I think. So we're starting with substitution. Just get our faculty to substitute the use of paper for the use of technology. If you start there, faculty members will take this and run with it and make it something that is really, truly innovative in the classroom. The next thing that we're doing to enhance learning opportunities is actually physically going in and changing our classrooms. So we have, I think, about 5 classrooms on campus now that are built in this way, called kind of core classrooms. And what they are, and we've seen this in other universities as well, but what they are students are sitting in these pods, and these tables are movable if they need to be. They have a TV right up next to the table that they're sitting at, so students can work together as a group and showcase their work to either the whole class or just work on it as a group project. There's no front of the room, so the faculty member stands in the middle of the room and talks to everybody. But what this does is it changes the learning environment so that it's no longer sitting in rows, like we heard earlier this morning, no longer sitting in rows, but actually sitting in collaborative groups. So using technology to change how students are learning. The next goal and some of the projects that go along with it is opening up educational content to the world. So we started with iTunes U. Who all's on iTunes U? Probably a lot of you, right? Very good. I'm sure you guys have seen just as many, just as much excitement around the attention that your content gets on iTunes U. So a lot of times we talk about MOOCs, we talk about all these things. I don't want to forget the importance of something like iTunes U. We focus on a lot of things about freedom. Our provost is really kind of a big fan of iTunes U, and so he's created a lot of different content for this platform, and a lot of it's around freedom and civics and things like that. And what's interesting is China is our number 2 country that watches all of this, and so freedom is the content that they're watching, which I find fascinating. And so we're actually translating the freedom videos into Chinese to see if that kind of changes the numbers that we see. So it's kind of interesting to see what content other countries are looking at. So yeah, iTunes U is something we've been doing for several years now. We kind of got into it late, but went into it with a bang. But we realized, okay, everyone's talking about MOOCs. We need to get into the MOOC market, but let's get in and let's not stop there. We look at MOOCs and we say, okay, let's get into open courses. We don't call them MOOCs on campus. We really focus on the open and not so much the massive. We call them OOCs, which doesn't sound nearly as fun. So let's get into that. We got into something called Janix about a year ago. We built this in partnership with an ed tech company called NextThought. And what makes Janix and really NextThought so unique is that this platform is built primarily on the idea of social interaction. So this goes all the way back to community building, right? So we built this primarily for OU students. So let's start with OU students. We built Janix to be something that students could use in a flipped classroom, in a blended classroom, or fully for an online class. It takes open access textbooks, mixes it with social interaction, mixes it with videos and a way to take notes and share notes in a really unique way, and gives them an opportunity to expand the physical classroom online. And then we opened it up to the outside world as well. So this is one of our open educational content classes, and I'm going to show you just real quick a short video about Janix to give you a little bit better idea of what this is.
We all like trying new things. Curiosity is in our nature. But sometimes, we just can't get it right. And that's never stopped us. Failure will not define us. So we sit down, broaden our horizons, and seek new things, only to realize the answer is right in front of us. Welcome to Janix, an online social learning community created by the University of Oklahoma, where no question is too small and no answer is out of reach. We can start a new course, learn something new, refine our methods, and come to find out that we're not alone. With a vibrant community of learners and world-class professionals at our side, anything is possible. Whether it's helping a classmate solve a problem, drawing when you don't know what to say, or brainstorming with a new friend, Janix was designed for all types of learners, because knowledge is meant to be shared. This is why Janix was built, with community in mind, to let you form bonds that travel beyond the classroom walls. Because a journey isn't about where you've been, it's where you're going. And life isn't about what you know, but what you're learning.
So that class was chemistry of beer. As you can guess, that was our most popular class. So I'm sure you're all wondering why. So chemistry of beer is just kind of one example of a really successful kind of open course that we ran. And something that we're getting ready to announce in really just a couple of weeks is a really exciting opportunity for us, which is that we are going to take one class and pilot it with Intro to Computer Programming, and open up Intro to Computer Programming to anyone around the world to take it for University of Oklahoma credit at a discounted rate. So for $599, anybody can take an OU course and get 3 hours of credit. This might be students around the world that need Intro to Computer Programming. That's a pretty common course, and transfer it to their institution. It could be somebody who's getting ready to decide if OU is the right place for them, or it could be just be somebody who wants actual credit for a course instead of just a certificate, so or a badge or something like that. So that's kind of something that we're getting ready to do more of and announce some really exciting courses for spring. I'll save those for our big announcements. And so I think that that'll be kind of an interesting kind of move on where we see these open courses going, are discounted rates. An actual OU class, we didn't create this separate. This wasn't something that we created just for open courses that's on a lower quality level. This is an actual OU course that OU students are taking as well. And the last section is really about saving students money, which is really kind of the meat of what we're trying to do here, right? So we want to enhance all these learning opportunities, but through the process, school is expensive. So how do we make it cheaper for students? One of the things that we've really been doing since the beginning is the provost has been working with a task force to create more of a movement towards open course or open textbooks and open access materials for courses. This isn't anything new, but there is a mass kind of swell at the University of Oklahoma to do this. We've already been able to save students over $400 a year on textbooks. I think it's actually now up to like $450 a year, and continuing to move in that direction. So we've partnered with OpenStax, which I'm sure many of you have heard of, that has a lot of open access textbooks. And we also have an open access librarian within our main library services that works with a lot of faculty to find these opportunities too. Sometimes it's really hard for faculty to say, okay, there probably are a lot of open access materials out there, but I don't have time to find them. So this librarian really helps them find those materials that are out there. And our dean of the College of Arts and Sciences was one of the first to kind of pilot an open access textbook, so I'll let him share with you quickly.
I was able to replace my regular textbook with one that's available free and online. My students can access it by using a laptop, downloading it to their iPad, or even their phones. But it's not just me. The entire University of Oklahoma is working diligently to lower the cost of education for our students. My name is Kelly Dampus, and I'm part of One University.
So Kelly kills me because he wasn't wearing a tie that day, and it drives him crazy. But I think that that's just kind of a good example of one of the things that we're doing to save students money. Again, all of these projects, that's not all of the projects within One University, but I hope it gives you a good kind of overview of all of the things that we're doing as a university at large, instead of doing these things in specific small little pockets, to work towards a common goal. And I don't think there will ever be an end. I think this will always continue to be something that we work towards, but something that we're pretty proud of and pretty excited about, and our students are starting to see a lot of changes at the university. It's not necessarily something that's going to happen overnight. So, that being said, does anybody have any questions? Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think one of the challenges, quite honestly, two things. One, there are too many projects for us to do. So everyone at the university really that's been a part of this has had to kind of change priorities and really kind of think about priorities so that we can get some of these projects done. But the other thing too is that we're not always 100% successful in all of these projects too, and I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it helps us learn really what students want, what students don't want, what faculty want. You know, I think that our hope is that all of our faculty will want to move towards some of these projects, and that's just not the case, and that's not going to happen, and that's okay. But finding those champions, finding those faculty members, those deans who are going to be champions for this, is really kind of the key. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges for all of us, right? Is just the fact that there are all these great ideas. How do you make them happen? Yes, having this big group together makes us finding those champions a lot easier. If we didn't have such a big group that was kind of really great people at the top, we wouldn't be able to get there. Yes. I don't, actually, Robert probably knows that better than I do. I don't know exactly. What we've been able to do is we know that we've been able to cover our costs and things like that. It's a little bit different for our students. Our students are in a flat rate tuition program, so it's a little bit different for them. It just kind of works differently. But what we've been able to do is cut out a lot of the costs for an on-campus student. We're not paying for licensing for exchange, for example. We're not paying for a lot of the licensing that a normal degree-seeking, these are for non-degree-seeking students, that a degree-seeking student would get. $5.99 for this 3-hour course. I don't know that all of our courses are going to be that cost. This is our first pilot that we're trying it with. Yes? Sure, that's a great question. This is an online course, just like any other online course within the university, and we are capping it for this pilot at a small number. So, so anything that they do is a lot of it. It's not necessarily going to be multiple choice. It's not necessarily going to be some of those things that you need whenever it's a massive course. They're capping that at a smaller level. So any online course that deals with this, I think that they're going to explore online proctoring. I don't know that they have yet, but I think it just runs the same challenges that everything else does. But again, that's why we're kind of keeping it small so that the faculty member can be hands-on with every single student in the class, instead of it being to 10,000 people getting credit for it. Yes. Honestly, we don't really have a lot of pushback on that specifically. We've gotten pushback on many of these projects, as you can imagine, but open textbooks are honestly not something that we've gotten pushback from because we've just encouraged it. We've never said you have to use an open textbook or really even looked down on people for not using one. There are a lot of subjects out there that just don't have the materials yet to support a class through open access textbooks. So really we didn't get any pushback on that. We just kind of went to the faculty members that we knew had the most interest in doing something like this, or in a subject that we knew had a lot of opportunity. Like sociology is an easy one for us to go to and use an OpenStax textbook for. Does that make sense, or does that help? I think that providing the opportunity and showing the cost savings, I think that made a lot of faculty jump on board without us having to even go out and push it. Yes? That's a great question. So we took we actually have cost breakdown for how much it costs for a student to come to the University of Oklahoma for each class, for each textbook, and things like that. And we're able to actually take those costs out of that to evaluate each class specifically and how that kind of groundswell made up that cost specifically. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is looking at every class that we've gone to, or that every class that it's adopted a textbook like that, and just counted up the savings there. So it just kind of depends on what figures you already have on campus to be able to calculate those cost savings. We happen to have, how much it cost, and we're able to take that out of the overall cost. Okay, I think we're out of time, but if anybody has any questions, please feel free to grab me up here. Thank you guys so much for coming. I appreciate it.